9 o'clock, I will call the meeting of the Board of Supervisors to order. Mr. Veeder, roll call, please.
Leyland,
Here.
Little,
Here.
Schwartz,
Here.
White,
Here.
Trelka.
Here. Let's have a moment of silence to reflect upon our actions. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain a motion to,
So moved. Second?
it has been seconded, it's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have recognition and the Years of Service Award, but we're going to, that's a little mistake in the agenda. We're going to move on to public comments, and then we'll do the Years of Awards. Do we have any members of the public that wishes to speak? Anybody online? Mr. Veeder, the Years of Service Awards?
All right. We have two awards today, one for Grant Glidewell for 20 years of service from the engineer's office, and also 20 years service Jeffrey Hunter, also from the engineer's office.
All right, we want to thank those employees for their years of service. And the county's a good place to work, so we appreciate their commitment to our citizens and for what they do. James, claims and payments?
Good morning. This week's expenditures total $374,204.56. The larger items: jail commissary $49,543, secondary roads $72,751, social services $47,238, and sheriff's department $93,263. Everything looks normal.
I'll entertain a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue checks against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded. Mr. Veeder, roll call vote.
Little,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Trelka.
Yes. Project updates from department heads and elected officials. Kathy?
Morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. Just a brief update on the roads. All roads are in good condition this morning. Our crews are out, our motor grader crews are out cutting brush, and then some of the other personnel are mixing salt, and particularly in moving salt and sand mixtures down to the Port City shop. In our projects, we have, of course, PCI is still continuing to work on the Cedar River Bridge replacement project. They are removing material that was in the river, hauling that away to get it out of the area so that work can continue on with that project. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody, any other department head or elected official present that wants to provide an update? Anybody online who would like to provide an update? All right, a motion to approve the minutes
So moved. Second?
has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. Consent agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Veeder, roll call vote, please.
Is there any discussion?
None.
Trelka, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I haven't changed this list yet. Schwartz,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Yes.
Trelka.
Yes. Updates. Mr. Delegardell, are you present to provide an update for the Washburn sanitary sewer? He is not present. I will get in touch with Mr. Delegardell to ask him to provide an update at a future meeting. Contracts and agreements, a resolution that the service agreement modification with Blackhawk County and ACES, Cedar Falls, Iowa, for silver information technology support services in the amount of $11,803 per month be approved and to direct the chair to sign for same as recommended by Kim Veeder, IT Director. Mr. Motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
It has been moved and approved. Any questions?
Well,
Kim?
I did kind of want to go through some of this. This is reducing the monthly fee from $20,015 to $11,803. Help desk tickets are going to be completed by staff here at the county. Some of the things that are included in, that are still in the new agreement are remote desktop and server and network monitoring. And the next few things that I'm going to talk about are hard costs that we would need to pay for either way. Gateway protection is the firewall. There are 5 firewalls that they own, that they manage. Patching, endpoint security, so virus detection, web content filtering, email encryption, backup management, and then they've listed email continuity. And then we have the SIEM service through Pratum, but we pay through that through ACES. And they monitor our network as well, looking for things. So people that have issues with passwords, I get notification, I can follow up on it to make sure that nobody's trying to get into our network that shouldn't be. So, and then one of the things that we talked about was for the next fiscal year, we'll look in May-ish to reevaluate what services we need, do an RFP, and see what we want to do for next fiscal year.
Does any,
Yes, my question was just that the hard costs included for the hardware and software you're describing, those are the ones they're going to continue to serve us with, and the others not.
Right, right.
And then the help desk tickets that'll be processed by county staff, is that something that we're changing immediately, or is?
Yes. As soon as you guys approve this, I've got an email that I've sent, ready to send out to staff to say, hey, you need to call our numbers. And I guess the other thing I should mention is I do have my network specialist hired. He is going to start January 25th, so I'm looking forward to having him on board.
all right, that was my question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Is that the end of the hires then, Kim, or?
There's,
One
we
more?
budgeted one more help desk.
Good.
Yep, so.
And
I'll get-
that will bring everything back in-house then?
That's, by the time we get ready to do decide what we're going to do in May and June, we should be able to say, we'll evaluate it and make sure that we know exactly what we need. But yes, that's the intention.
So the gap between the help desk services that would be from now until this person's hired and can do that, how is that? being-
Well, it may, I will say, I kind of had hoped that he could start a little earlier, but you know how the holidays kind of change things around. But yes, we may not be quite as quick, but we'll get
You'll
it
be-
done.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll do our best to get it done as quickly as possible.
I assume, like you always are good to send out an email to staff, kind of letting them know the changes in time.
Right, and I've got the email prepped, I'm just ready, as soon as I sit down, I'll send it out.
Thank you.
Tom, did you have a question?
Yeah, Kim, I got a couple of questions. The 11,000 that we're taking it down to, you indicated there's going to always be some constant charges with ACES. Is this 11,000, will this number possibly go down yet in the future?
Yeah, as we take on more responsibilities, like the thing that we're gonna need to pay for, one way or the other, are the firewalls and virus detection, web content filtering, email encryption. Those are things that are services that are either hardware or software that we'll need to address. So, yeah, it'll go down, but the amount may not change, but it won't be going, it might not necessarily go into ACES.
So, but we can still
You have
get
it.
go out and get a bid cheaper than that from somebody else, right?
Yep, that's what we're talking about, is the contract
You
is
don't have
going,
an estimate what that could go down to, that 11,000?
not right now, no.
Is there a agreement on this agreement? Is there a time period in the agreement itself?
Yes, we've asked it to expire June 30th of this year.
June 30th, and then down below, you got evaluate requirements and develop an RFP for IT. Who's going to do the evaluation?
What we will internally and say, hey, these are the skill sets that we have in-house now that we've hired those people. And then whatever we still need, if we need anything, that'll be included in the RFP. So it may
When you
be
say
more.
we-
Huh?
When you say we, you're talking about who?
The people in my staff working
What
together.
about the IT committee?
We can include the IT committee, yes. But I think that, I mean, we'll provide a recommendation, but we're the ones that know what we're capable of doing.
I still think you should involve the IT committee. That's the reason why we have one.
Okay.
Any other questions for Kim? Kim, any more you would like to add?
Nope, I think that's it, unless you have any questions for me.
No, thank you for, like I say, getting this reduced, so thank you.
Mr. Veeder, roll call vote.
White,
No.
Leyland,
Yes.
Little,
Now, this will be the first time I ever vote for it, but I'm going to because the price is going down. I'm going to say yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Trelka,
Yes. Item 11A, a motion to direct the county auditor to advertise for a public hearing bid opening to be held at 9:05 a.m. on January 26th in Boardroom 201 of the Blackhawk County Courthouse, 316 East 5th Street, Waterloo, Iowa,
moved.
Second.
on a proposed Brandon Road HMA grading and paving project, LFM 5015-7X07, and Canfield Road HMA grading and paving, LFM 5020-7X07 in Blackhawk County. It has been moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 11B, a motion to direct the county auditor to advertise for a public hearing bid opening to be held at 9:07 a.m. on January 26th in Boardroom 201 of the Blackhawk County Courthouse, 316 East 5th Street, Waterloo, Iowa, on the proposed fiscal year 2022 seal coat project in various
moved.
locations in Blackhawk
Second.
County. It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Kathy?
This is just a routine, our seal coating project for this year. This allows us, by setting the hearing, we are now allowed to send out the plans to receive bids, which we will open on the 26th of January.
Any more questions for Kathy? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 11C, discussion, county preparedness and possible updates for COVID-19. Does anybody have anything?
I just got one thing, Mr. Chair. I'd like to see us put away the masks that we're distributing and save them for some other time that they might be needed. Seeing as how it's mandated to wear one, they should have one when they come in. You watch people that get them from the county, they'll come in, when they walk out, they throw them on the ground. And there was just an article on TV the night before last that they're not good for, those masks like Linda's got on aren't good for the environment. Well, probably none of them are, but they can kill animals and stuff. The animals chew on them and get sick and die. And so I'm not in favor of giving them out anymore.
Rory, do you know how many we're giving out per day or per week?
Well, I'd have to look into that, Dan. I'm not sure what that number is. I know the last order we put in has probably been about a little over a month ago, and that was about 4,000 masks. It's probably even longer than that, probably about a month and a half ago. I do think the numbers have gone down because we're not handing as many boxes out, but
I would think most of the people coming in probably wearing their own mask by now, wouldn't you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are conditioned now. I have one in my pocket in addition to the one I'm wearing, so.
And I typically don't use the county masks anyway. Like I said, it's just I use a heavier one most times, but in some cases I like to, I think.
I was just using
easier
yours
to
as
see.
that's an example of it.
It's
But
not-
they're out in the parking lot every day.
That's not a bad idea. Item number
Does any-
12. Tom,
Dan, I got one more question. Does anybody know if Blackhawk County's received any vaccines yet?
Like people in Blackhawk County? Yeah.
Sheriff knows.
Sheriff's approaching
Service
the
providers have.
podium.
Good morning. So I had a long conversation with Nafisa last week regarding this, and she's in the process right now of working with distribution points. There's, in fact, I just read from Department of Public Health, Part 1A of their distribution plan is currently being executed. And the last email that I saw over the weekend was that they are lagging in distribution. So they're concerned that they may actually be wasting virus. So they're trying to encourage faster distribution. To that end, we had conversations about first responder as part of 1A in their distribution plan. NAF care at the jail, I think, is going to be a clinical distribution point for all 3 shifts of all first responders in the county, so that they can come on shift and come into the jail to get their portions of their distribution for vaccine. So those are all ongoing conversations, but I do know that that is occupying about 90% of Nafisa's time right now, is coordination with those folks that are part of the 1A distribution plan, and coordination. The sheriff's office is also working with county health for transportation when necessary as well.
But how
So to
many,
answer my question is,
Yeah,
nobody's
how many
received
big go
vaccine
now?
in Blackhawk County?
Oh, we've got vaccines being distributed, absolutely.
Who's
Healthcare.
getting them right now?
Between,
Who's getting them
between the
right now, Sheriff?
hospitals, yeah, between the hospitals and clinics, there's distribution being given right now. And
Do
the
we know
county
who
health.
they're issuing them to, Tony?
That I don't know. I don't know who all is coordinated out of that Part 1A.
I think that would be good public information for everyone to know.
And they're 2-shot
Yeah.
vaccinations right now, if I understand correctly.
Correct.
With a 1-shot potentially coming out next month.
That I don't know.
I think Nafisa sent a press release out yesterday, and it didn't have a lot of, like I say, the detailed information in it, but I think they were talking about posting that or making that available to us. So, yeah, I think everybody'd be interested in hearing that. Thank you, though, Tony. I thought she made
So where's the breakdown in the information coming down the ladder at? Tony, do you know, at the state level, or where's it being?
The email that I read this
disseminated.
weekend was part of a press packet, so it almost made it look like the state was trying to transfer some guilt onto the counties for a lack of speed, where we're all ready, we're just waiting. And so I don't know where the breakdown is right now, but like I say, that press packet that went out this weekend, I kind of took offense to. So I'm not exactly sure.
So is there any nursing homes that got it so far? Or-
That you'd have to ask Nafisa. I'm not aware. Again, I don't know the details of Part 1A. I don't know who all's included as Part 1A. I'm sure ERs, and I know a lot of the hospital staffs have already gotten it.
I've seen some nursing home staff, so they got it, at least from Bremer. So I think that some of the ones here in the county have too.
It'd be a good question towards Nafisa to get
Yeah.
an update to the board.
Yeah.
And it appears that people are beginning to start, they're receiving relief funds in the form of direct deposits, the second round, so.
Some have, yeah.
All right, anything else in regard to COVID? We will move on to item number 12, the work session for the discussion and possible board action and consideration of all aspects of the fiscal year 22 Blackhawk County budget. James?
All right, so I'm going to attempt to share my screen, and hopefully everything works out perfectly. So far, so good. Hopefully that works on. Okay. So today we have the board office, general supervision, we have medical examiner, JCS, district court administration, auditor, elections, treasurer, recorder, HR, civil service, and VA. Sounds like a lot, but you know, once we kind of get moving, I think we should be good to go. So I'll start off with the board office, board general supervision, and then I do want to spend some time on the medical examiner, as they do see an increase this year, potentially. And then JCS and district court administration all remain the same. So let me know if I'm going too fast. Stop me if you have any questions. But the board office, this is the summary. We don't carry any revenues in the board office. The increases that you see is solely salary and benefits. I have placed a 3% placeholder for the salary and benefits pending the board approval. So that's where that is. The breakdown on salary and benefits are just below that. So you'll actually see that it's actually the increase in health insurance that's really kind of driving that that increase up. So
That was for the boardroom health insurance increase?
yes, so we had a member in our office that's switched from single to family, and that's where that's kind of where you see some of the increase there, and then the others are the salary and wages for all of us. So. Operating expenses, I remained the exact same on operating expenses. As you'll see throughout the budget presentations, you'll kind of notice that FY20 is kind of hit or miss. I didn't want to just go off of FY20. I wanted to take FY19 and 18 into account just because FY20 was such a crazy year. So I did want to see another year with our operating expenses the way they were before we made any changes. So you will see a 0% increase in operating expenses for our board office. And then the FTEs are below.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions on board office?
James, on all the budgets that we're going to be going over today and in the future, you already implemented the 3%,
Correct.
so they all show it.
Correct.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, I will move on to general supervision. We'll see an increase in general supervision in the operating expenses solely due to this being a negotiation year for the union contracts. I've been in communications with HR. We typically see this bill come in anywhere between 17,000, 18,000. So I increased it to 20,500 for an even or for an even dollar amount. That is a 4.02% increase in the operating expenses. With that all encompassing, we're looking at a 3.83% increase in general supervision. Again, not much we can do about that. I don't want to under budget for that. We don't know what that's going to come in at as of yet, but again, it's our hands are kind of tied. We got a budget for the union contract, so. Salary and benefits, we budget $55,000 just to help budget for anyone that's leaving the county that has payouts for sick or vacation or anything like that. So 55,000 is right around again what we've budgeted in the past, so I've kept it the same there. And then the operating budget and operating revenues are below. I've kept just about everything the exact same as years past. Any questions on board general supervision?
No.
No.
Perfect. I will move on to the medical examiner. This one I kind of did separately, again, only because Dr. Bickley has asked for an increase. I sent that out back in June, which seems like forever ago. But he is asking for an increase in his fees, and I can pull up his letter as well here. So,
James, could you speak up a little bit? I can't hear you.
yeah, I'm sorry. I'll get closer to the mic here for you. This is the letter that we received for from the medical examiner. As you can see, let me scroll down here. We'll get this out of the way. Kim, maybe you can help me on that one as well. Thank you. He wanted to see an increase in for full investigations from $175 to $200, partial investigations from $35 to $50, processing fee from $75 to $90, funeral home transport to Ankeny for autopsy from $200 to $250, cremation fees from $75 to $80. So with that, I have then increased his operating budget per your approval.
So, a question, James.
Yep.
So, did you look at previous year's investigations and processing fees and that type of thing? Is that for the numbers?
I did, yep.
Okay.
And that's and what we kind of saw was, on average, he's asking for probably about a 27% increase in his operating budget. I did not increase it as directly related to that dollar amount, only because I feel as though we don't need to fully increase his budget by that full dollar amount. So I did increase his health services by $40,000, which in my opinion should cover should cover the increases that he would like to do. So I know that when we had brought it up in June, it was something that you wanted to talk about. Perhaps we do. We can sit and wait on it a little bit, but at some point during this process, I would like to see, the board make a resolution on these fee increases, and that way we can adjust accordingly if we need to. So,
Didn't we just have an increase on the positions here about a year or two ago?
no.
You
So,
re-
as far as the medical examiner goes, in his letter, he had said that he hasn't received an increase for quite some time.
I think they added staff. I think what they did was added some staff.
And you could be right there.
I was thinking for the investigations there.
Yeah, I think they were investigators. I think, Tom, that I think they did add. Because they now, what he said, we have 4.
Okay.
I think there were some staff positions he changed.
Wonder why he's worried about funeral home transport and also the cremation fee. He doesn't actually do that.
Well, I do know that in speaking with him, he had discussed with me funeral homes getting pretty upset with our set fee, a transport fee to Ankeny. His feedback that he's received is $200 is extremely low for what they've typically been getting. He's been having troubles with some funeral homes just kind of fighting back on these fees and really needing them increased just to help cover their costs.
So my question is, the state approves like these fees or some type of fee on structure in this. So then have we asked taxpayers to subsidize this before or not? Because that's what we're doing, I think, aren't we? Asking, like I said, the state reimburses us for maybe $75 for a cremation.
Mm-hmm.
So if we increase that payment, then possibly we're asking the taxpayers to pay it, when maybe the state should be kind of
State should be involved.
involved
We've
in some.
we've never done this before.
Yeah, and in his letter, he had said that he hadn't asked for an increase for 14 years. So,
Have any of the
perhaps
funeral
we.
homes- I don't think the funeral homes have contacted any of the board, so they must be just dealing with him directly, but I don't know that I've seen that letter or any of those letters.
Yeah,
That might be helpful.
yeah, and perhaps we try to get Dr. Bickley in here and help discuss and try to see
Yeah,
what
he'd
his
have
thought
some-
mentality is as well. So.
Sure. That'd be good, since he's never, I've never.
I'd
heard
like
of
to
it.
see him spread this out over several, if he's saying he didn't do anything or raise any fees for 14 years, that's not our fault. And now to do that big of an increase, I think is, like Linda said, it's putting on the backs of people that can least afford it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we can
James,
table
what's
that.
the-
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
What's the dollar amount of of all the increases combined together on a yearly basis over the whole
40.
year?
40,000 is what I have in there for an increase.
And that's for everything?
Yes.
I do have another question, though. He has listed their computer input time for full cases and partial cases. I'm assuming he wants some reimbursement of that, but he didn't put any type of a fee there.
No, he hasn't.
So he's got several questions maybe we need to hear from him on, or at least his side of it.
Right.
And his actuals swing quite a bit every single year.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't do much about that.
I think you mentioned, though, there was some funds put in his budget that maybe we weren't utilizing, or he wasn't utilizing.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
He had some budgeted funds previously that he wasn't utilizing.
Mhm.
That's why you cut back on his
Right, yeah.
budget. Okay.
So,
Well, maybe we'll get to see him this time.
okay. I will call him and ask him to come in and
Help us understand a little bit more.
absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
You know, and some of those fees that we talked about before, James, it looks like two or three of his assistants go out and, on a call, and that, I don't see why they need two or three going out. Maybe we read it wrong, or I'd still like to see a breakdown of it, or you could justify these large increases to the taxpayers.
Right. Yeah, you bet.
I still think we increased some of them in the last few years on the investigators.
So maybe we need a little more history on that, just to
Yeah.
confirm it.
That, and they also,
We'll have some good questions for Dr. Bickley.
Yep. And get to see him.
Yeah, good luck.
Well, maybe he can zoom in.
Good luck.
Well, good luck at getting your
you want a
request
camera,
then.
or you want a different computer.
Good luck at his request then.
Yeah. That's a good one.
I mean, really?
Mhm.
We ask everybody else to come and defend their budgets.
Yeah.
I'll flash this up here. JCS, District Court Administration, they did not see any increases. I didn't see a need for them to be increased again. Keeping those relatively flat was kind of, was not only a goal, but it didn't seem like it really warranted any increases, so. So if you have any questions on those.
So you're done with that one? Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's
they're
it. It is what
yeah,
it is.
they're pretty quick on those. So
Yeah. No question.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. None from me.
Have you talked with him, James, about holding the line?
Looks like
about you mean JCS?
What you're looking at for this year for him?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we communicate via email and it's
Good.
they just did zero. It looks like. Are you?
yeah. I mean,
okay with
it's
that? Yeah. Good.
yeah. We don't seem to need an increase there. So I will move on to the auditor's office.
Okay.
And let
James, on your request to the departments, and we're going to start with the auditor's office, did they meet your request when you sent the instructions out for the budget?
well, I mean,
And I'm not just talking about the audit, I'm talking, we'll take it one at a time.
yeah, well, yeah, we can take it one at a time. You know, there were, you know, every department came in and really tried to cut, you know, make sure that we were presenting a good lean budget. You know,
Well, I'm talking about the auditors right now, we'll hit each one as they come before us.
Right.
Did the auditors follow your instructions as far as what you requested?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't everybody follow your instructions as requested? Yeah. Okay.
I think we had one department that came in increase.
Well, I think we had some discussion on that, though, to bring us what they thought they really needed, and then
Right.
we'd look at it.
Yeah, but that wasn't the instructions.
Well, it should have been the instruction.
Why?
Because we didn't give James the direction to say, don't spend anything.
Right.
That's what they come before the board for, to find out what they need to spend more for, then we approve it.
Yeah, that's what they were asked to do. So if we don't like it, I guess that's our choice, Tom, but not.
Then everybody should have done it, because they were told to turn in a zero budget.
No, I don't recall that.
Yeah, I do.
Well, maybe
We
that
had-
was your choice, but that wasn't what was voted on by the whole board.
Why did everybody do it, Linda, but one department?
Yeah, I think we had a majority in our discussions that asked for a zero-based budget, basically.
When I
That's
talked to
what I
James, I told
recall.
him I wanted him to hold the line at 0.
Everybody to just,
Oh.
come with lean budgets,
Yeah.
I think, I remember Supervisor
That's
Leyland
not
and I.
say, that's not saying the budget's gonna stay there, but
No.
No.
that was the instructions that were given outlet.
I think my expectation was just responsible budgets that meet the services that they need to provide, and then the rest is up to us. We need to cut.
James, the auditor's office.
Perfect. Grant, chime in here. What was that?
You said it was perfect. What do you need to say?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
we're done.
There's no change in revenues. Salaries, you'll see it's actually a decrease, 19,631. That's because they had some retirements in FY21. If you look at the amended budget in FY21, that's 905. That's really only because, again, they had some retirements in this year, so they're actually decreasing in their salary and benefits by 2%, and their operating budgets remain neutral. So they're seeing an overall decrease of 19,631.
Grant, and how many retirements off the top of your head did you have?
We had one.
Oh,
Sorry? 3?
Yeah, we had to budget for 3 this year.
Sorry?
We had to budget for 3 this year.
This upcoming year?
Oh, this upcoming year, okay.
But in the past?
This current year.
Okay, our current year.
Current year, the only retirement is Helen, right?
We have Helen, Lisa, and Denise.
Okay, well,
Okay.
Lisa, I'm sorry, are you talking about our current year? Or the
Yes,
year that we're
our current
discussing?
year.
Current year.
Yeah.
Okay, current year, Helen Steffen retired. We are anticipating retirements June 30th of an employee of Denise Bishop, and then a couple months later, I can't remember the date, for Lisa Lamb.
It's not
Nope.
official.
Okay.
It's not official, but the end of April is estimated for Lisa Lamb.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So that would be this fiscal year. Okay.
How quickly are you able to fill your, when somebody retires or somebody departs, how quickly are you able to fill that position?
You know, that depends on circumstances, who you interview and so on. We filled Helen's position fairly quickly, and actually before she left. It's, you know, it's up in the air how the other two are going to go, but I do want to remind the board that the situation with Lisa Lamb in payroll, we are going to change that position to an accountant position. So there will be one less person in payroll and a person that will be doing other duties, closely assisting Billy Jo Heth in her position. So that will actually probably be an increase. I don't remember what you ended up putting in budgeting for that. You might have kept it the same at this point, is what you talked about. But there will probably be an increase in salary for that position. But it'll be absorbed by the decrease that we show in Helen Steffen's position, because Tim Jameson is making less than she made. I'm sorry if I misunderstood where you're going with that, but is that pretty accurate?
Yes, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. So it's perfect, like you said.
Thank you.
Good budget, Grant.
Yeah.
Thank
Again, operating expenses and operating revenue remain neutral. Any questions?
But like Grant said, with that increase, or the new employee that would take one position, the new position, they'd be making, but you'd still have a decrease in the two total over the total, so you'd still be saving money, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's partially why we're seeing a decrease this year.
Thank you, James.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Grant.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to elections. And elections fluctuates, obviously every year. Karen, I'll kind of let you talk a little bit about the variances between every single year. The salary and benefits are going down, $45,572. Again, last year was a general election, so that's where they needed a little bit extra salary and benefits. Operating expenses is going down $287,507. It's a decrease of 47.23%. For a total decrease, $333,079, or a decrease of 35.43%. So, Karen, if you wanted to talk a little bit about elections and where we're at for this year from last year.
Good morning.
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 Yes, as James said, elections budgets fluctuate very much depending on what elections are scheduled for the year. Last year was, as everybody I think is familiar, we had a crazy election year and then also throw in a presidential election, which is going to always be the most expensive election we ever hold. Mostly just because of the sheer number of voters, but then also we bring in quite a few part-time people to help us with the volume, with the workload. So this year, the decrease, while it looks, Grant talked about his being perfect. This decrease is pretty good.
Gold star.
But it's expected. And that's because we don't anticipate bringing in any part-time people to help us. With the three of us currently in the office, we feel like we can handle the upcoming elections that we have for the fiscal year. So that's where you're going to see the biggest cost savings, as well as the two elections that we do have coming up in this fiscal year. It's the combined city and school election and the primary next year, which just are not as great of turnout elections. So the volume that you were seeing last year with postage and printing and, of course, all the PPE that we had to purchase, we can continue to use our PPE. So just because of the nature of the elections coming up in the next fiscal year, that's why you're seeing such a dramatic decrease.
Gold star for you then, I guess.
Well, I'm out of here then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on elections?
No.
No.
Oh, thank you.
Like I said, it's pretty cut and dry on this one. Rita. Maybe next. Treasurer's office.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
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 I wish I had better news, but COVID hit and it totally affected the interest rates that we're seeing. So we're going to show revenue down on interest, which was to be expected. And so we're looking at $450,000 decrease from what we had the previous year.
Been there before, ain't we, Rita?
Yeah.
Yes. Beginning of when I became treasurer, it was about these same rates. So we were looking at CDs over 3%, and interest in the banking was 2.5, and now we're lucky to get 0.5 on our last CD, and interest rates are in the banking is down 0.10. So hopefully this next coming year that we see an influx of the interest rates increasing because of the vaccine and and other hopes that we have. And expenses stayed the same, and as far as the 5-year plan, you asked about employees with grant. I have a possible 9 that could retire in the next year with a rule of 88.
9?
Yes.
Yes, they have met the rule of 88 and are far past that. I have individuals that, I only have 2 that have been talked about maybe retiring this next year, but nothing definite. And so I have nothing really solid to say that they will be leaving or any one of those will be leaving.
Generally, you can fill your vacant positions quite quickly, it sounds like.
Usually, yes. As soon as the board approves that I can replace them, yes, we work with HR, and within that month, usually, we have somebody, because it takes quite a bit of time to train for title and registration, and it's an ongoing process anyway, but to get them up to some comfort, it may take up to 6 months to work with them directly, and then they're always learning after that. Same way with accounting. One of the individuals that could possibly retire is in the accounting department, and her abilities with the time that she has been with the county, that position will be seriously looked at, because the accounting department really is 2 individuals and their supervisors. So we really will be looking seriously on that position because of the few that we have in the accounting department.
But when you hire an employee, they bring their educational standards with them, and you do the training in-house, so you don't have to send anybody off for any special certification.
It's all in-house. We train them directly, and start with title and registration, and then we bring in property tax training. So there's 2 different sets of training that they have to take to be universal cashiers up the front line or on the floor with what work they do.
And your pool of candidates that apply, they're generally, it's generally easy to find employees to fulfill your needs?
Yeah, at one point we had, I think this last hire, we had 135 apply.
Wow.
Prior to that was 251. And I went through each and every one of them. I'm due diligent to make sure that we get the best fit for the office and the best fit for the customers that we work with.
Thank you.
Are there any plans to do anything out at the Crossroads office, or is that?
The Crossroads office right now it's permanently closed due to the technology and what we needed out there just wasn't going to be feasible as far as cost. And then now with the DOT completely closed, only to appointment only, it would be more of an issue trying to get scheduling done out there. So it just works better for everybody to come through the main office here. And with COVID, it did make people go online and do more things online, but there is a lot of things that cannot be done online. It has to be in person. We tried to do it by mail, but that's just as difficult. And if items get lost in the mail, it's major, because titles get misplaced or lost, then you have to go back and find those replacements. And if you're dealing with out of country or out of state, it can be a timely factor. So and then the laws change as everyone's does as time goes on. So, but no, Crossroads, I would love to have kept it open. I fought for it dearly. But it was going to be costly to get it updated, to get the internet in there, get the lines in. DOT was already having issues with their internet lines. They weren't really, they would like us out there, but it's just not feasible at this present time. Maybe in the future it might be if they relocated outside of the mall. And so I don't know what that situation will be for them.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
Sandy, I have you next.
Morning, Sandy.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Morning.
Few things I just wanted to mention. Although we had to decrease our passport processing revenues significantly, overall, we could show an increase in revenues, mainly due to the healthy real estate market. The lower interest rates are really causing a surge in real estate. So we've recorded 2,000 more documents to date than last year at this time. So we were happy about that. Home sales are up 15% in Iowa in November, so we expect that to continue. We also are seeing a slight increase in our vital records department. Everybody's coming to get the star on their ID, so they need a copy of their marriage license and a copy of their birth certificate. So we're hoping we'll see that continue. And of course, throughout the pandemic, we've been able to e-record documents, so we never skipped a beat with recording documents from day one. And we're seeing a 40% increase in our e-recordings. The state overall is setting records with e-recordings, so we think that will continue. And for expenses, it is a boat renewal season. It comes around every 3 years, so we see a slight increase in revenues, but I also have a little bit more expenses in printing costs and postage costs. Can I answer any questions?
Sandy,
Good
are you
job,
having any
Sandy.
difficulty in filling positions when they become vacant?
No. Like Rita, we have over 100 people usually apply for our office specialist positions. I should not have any retirements in the next 5 years, I don't think, so.
Next few years, probably.
Yeah, I hope not.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, I just told her, good job as usual.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Overall, again, salary and benefits, just that 3%, so they're looking at a overall decrease of 33,611. So,
James, I got one question before we go on.
yes, sir.
We've had a couple of departments, obviously for the obvious reasons, have decreases in revenues. Did you ever put together a tally on approximately the countywide, what our decrease in revenues are going to be this year compared to the last fiscal year?
No, I can run a revenue report for what we're overall looking at. That will just by default kind of come into vision here later on in the budget process. However, what I can do, I can run a revenue report for you, and so that way it's just kind of a little bit more upfront, and you'll be able to see that a little quicker.
Okay, sounds good.
Good.
Thanks, James.
Amanda, I have you up next.
I didn't see her sitting over there. I was going to say she's not here.
What?
I didn't see her sitting over there.
Oh, yeah, I'm hiding in the corner. All right, so Amanda Fesmer, HR Director. First go around at this budget thing for human resources, so bear with me a little bit.
Tom, can you hear Amanda all right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so overall, not a whole lot has changed, and I guess he's got civil service up here too, but I'll start with human resources. So salary and benefits has gone down slightly from the retirement from the previous director, Debbie Bunger, her salary being a little bit higher than my salary from the promotion to HR Director. And as for operating expenses, we kept that at a 0. We don't have a huge operating budget. Capital, I don't have any requests this year. Possibly in the next couple of years, might be looking at another printer scanner, just because ours is probably getting near its useful life, end of that. So, and I don't know if you want to go down into any detail or any questions about that. With
I can
human
go down.
resources. Okay, so, and this was a budget that, okay, so salary and benefits again here, nothing to really cover just because the decrease is from the personnel changes. Operating expenses, although we kept them 0, we did tweak a few things here and there. Just with some of our trainings with the COVID pandemic, they have kind of, the costs have lessened because a lot of it's been canceled. Or that's gone to online, things like that. We reduced some of the office supplies, just we weren't ordering near as much stuff. A lot of our processes are done electronically, so not needing, we still have a lot of paper that we're printing, but it has gone down some.
And we moved a little bit more into that professional services, about $1,000. That's for, in the event legal services may come up, especially with, we have what budgeted for the union contracts, which is in the board supervision, as James already covered, but with it being my first year in the HR director role, just gave myself a little bit more room in the event that a situation arises to the level of working through an employment attorney as well as our own attorney, Mike Trinan. So, but overall, it did not change.
You have one position to fill.
I do, and I have posted it, and we have gotten a pretty good response. I've had about a dozen applicants so far, and I would say a good portion of them look like they are qualified.
Hey, I'm in the board of supervisors. Can I call you back?
I think Brian's on the line. So, yes, I have one position to fill, hoping to have that filled sometime in February. So it closes officially at the end of this month. I have a preference date for January 15th. But looking forward to seeing those applicants come through and go through the process for interviews and everything. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
And so any other questions about human resources at all? Okay. One thing I probably, just with the personnel, so backfilling it, still having the same structure as is with the 2 HR specialists. Over the next couple of years, may come back to the board and look at reevaluating the structure, possibly looking at developing more a generalist role, depending on the staff that we have, and kind of looking at more of that progression from a entry-level HR to a mid-level professional in HR, and then of course the HR director. But for right now, kind of keeping the structure the way it is, but that is something that I may come back to the board after having the time to evaluate things and see where our structure would best fit with the county, and if that's something that
But you don't foresee that in the upcoming fiscal year of making any changes in classification?
My anticipation would be probably fiscal year '24 before I even really entertain that, because I want to give plenty of ample time to really evaluate whether or not that's the direction this department should go. We've had that role before, the generalist role, and it is a kind of an all-encompassing role. It doesn't, so that's just something I kind of will look at possibly developing if that's what we need to do here. So, but right now the current structure works very well, and I think departments are getting served in a good manner. So,
Thank you.
any questions about HR though? Okay.
No.
So the next thing is civil service. You will see an increase here. This is primarily because of my hourly increase going up. I was appointed the personnel director almost 2 years ago. So just accounting for that hourly increase. Whatever does get charged to civil service, basically, my understanding with James is that it just kind of comes out of HR. So it's almost like a flush. So it's not like I'm getting more than 2,080 hours, I guess. Operating expenses here, no changes with that. This can fluctuate at times as to how much we actually spend, depending on how many tests we actually administer for civil service, for promotional testing, as well as the entrance deputy testing. January is going to be a big month for us. I have 3 tests, 2 promotional, 1 deputy, so I will be spending most of my budget in this next month. And again, no capital requests for there either. So.
But one thing that I did want to say to mirror what Amanda was saying is we took 100 hours at her rate and transferred it from HR to civil service. So you'll see the requested civil service 6,113. If that wasn't there, that would just be a direct increase in the HR budget. So that's just really just allocating that differently.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
There's James.
Yes.
There's no problem. This is probably the first time that we have our HR director is in that position in civil service. when we appointed Amanda, obviously she wasn't in that position, and prior to that, we didn't have anybody from HR. There's no problem doing this, is there?
No, not that I see. And Amanda and I had a conversation about this as well, seeing if that's something that's, when she gets her staff full and up to speed, if that's something that she would hand back down. But again, that's, I'll let Amanda talk on that aspect of it. But no, I don't see any issues.
So under sorry, go
Prior
ahead,
prior to Amanda, I don't think we've ever had anybody from HR, have we?
No,
It was-
and I looked into that before I even approached the sheriff about this. Iowa code does say that a county employee may serve as a personnel director. So I kind of checked that out prior to even, I guess, acting on my interest in the role. So far it's worked out. It might change being in this director role that, I can work with the commission as to whether or not whomever I hire, or if they need to go out to find someone else, depending on the demands of each of the positions. But so one thing I just want to mention, there is a slight revenue for HR, which we don't often have. Some of that is for reimbursements or refunds, but most of it, that $1,500, is actually for the assessor's office. So we do kind of contract out some services with them, and I did already max that out this year in working with them. So I don't often see revenue coming from HR. It's mostly money that we're spending. So.
And I was just going to say, typically we don't budget for the revenue just in case we don't get it that fiscal year. So that's why you're not seeing it.
So.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, Yolando, are you still on?
Are you there, Yolando?
I am. I'm just sleeping. No, I'm just playing. Hey, good morning, board. Yolando, Blackhawk County Veterans Affairs Director. With our fiscal year 22 budget, it was approved. It was evaluated by our commission. And also we're setting up, we have established a strategic standing planning committee that's also going to be looking at our budgetary spending and our revenue intake as we get more into it. So a lot of overhead on our veteran budget going forward. But as you can see, for operating expenses, we've been dwindling down. We've been better at looking at where we're spending these county dollars at, and then which ones we can cut back, not to hurt ourselves, but to see that we're not really spending that much at that particular line item. So you'll see that as we go down in that standpoint. But for the most part, we kept it either at the zero-sum gain or under, because we could see that we could cut based off of our previous 3 years. And then there was 1 or 2 increases, as you'll see, that we said, okay, if we needed that, then what are we going to take from? And so that's what we did as a commission, and that's how we come up with this, with our budget. So if we went down towards, as you can see, most part, the salary and benefits, things of that nature. I think the unique change was the previous director was his salary was a lot higher than the current directors, and so you could see that cut there. But my FTE is 4 people, and so that's where I think that changes in salary and benefits comes into play. If we keep going on down to operating expenses, that's the key area there for us. As you could see, we didn't get a lot of things done this fiscal year, as you know, because of COVID. So our training and education, things of that nature, we weren't able to allot that money to anything, but we still have a few months where we're just waiting on the VA to find out if we're going to go back to the training to where we can use those expenses in that standpoint. We have 2 people that we got to send through the critical training, and we have 2 new commissioners that have to go through the training. So we're just waiting on the VA that says, based off of COVID environment, are we going to do it online or are we going to do it face-to-face? And then this last year, they just suspended all training in that standpoint. Going through, you'll see just a couple areas that I just wanted to bring out was we did make some cuts in the funeral expenses. We just see that we're not hitting that key dollar amount that we're subject to, though this year has been very unique. with the losses of a lot of our veterans. I think we've already we've supported 6 cremations, and we may have one, which I took a phone call this morning, where a family may need that assistance. But we are, as you can see, we're way under where we could be with 6 months remaining in the budget, and I think we'll support that even going into 2022 in that standpoint. And one of our earmarks was, if we continue to help our veterans with disability and claims, educating them in financial responsibilities, some of our 2022 goals, we would have better leverage on some of these things that the county helps these veterans with. In particular, a lot of our veterans that are dying, they're dying without health insurance, they're dying without funeral insurance, and really that's a key to education. So we really do, I take that for granted that, and it's a humbling position that the county allows us to do that to support veterans. So I really thank you in that standpoint for helping us in that standpoint. We did cut also on graves and markers. We are keeping a good repository inventory of those emblems, and so we made some cuts there. We looked at also our shelter. Though we help veterans in need, we haven't seen that drive. And one of the unique things with COVID came the relief, the CARES Act, and it really did help with pointing veterans towards other resources going forward. And so we cut about $2,000 in shelter, and then we also looked at gas, electric, and water. And we just want to make sure that we're setting a budget that's appropriate for the time going forward. And we think that each one of those cuts, we wouldn't have to come back to the board to request any additional revenue or expenses or funding to complete that year, just based off of our assessment and going through each one of those lines critically in that standpoint. A couple of things, though, that we took out of Hyde. You're going to see one where we got advertisement where we asked for a small increase, but I took that from another department. And that's going with our strategic planning committee about how do we do outsourcing, how do we do outreach and reach our community. So we're looking at a couple plans, and that's supporting that. Other than that, I was looking at our grants. Got our fingers crossed that we would get our state allotment. That's where the Iowa Department of Veterans Affairs gives a $10,000 grant to each of the 99 counties to help support veterans for particular things like advertisement and outreach events. And we're hoping that in 2022 and 2023 going forward, that's not something that gets cut when the state looks at that. And I'll make sure that I'll be talking to our state representatives to make sure that they keep that in play if possible. And then our donations, we're continually receiving those donations in that standpoint, and so you could see that revenue coming in, and we will make those reports as they come in and that support. Going forward, it looks like we'll be able to do everything that's required. We know this situation is kind of different, and so we're happy in our facilities. And so capital, we didn't really request anything capital. We're thankful that the board approved us for our sedan. We have that. It did come under the cap that you guys had set, but we do have our new sedan in play. And so we're happy where we're at going into 2022 and supporting all the way through that fiscal year. There's some things that we may look at later on further as things develop and get better. We still want to do an awning and a few other things, but it just is not the appropriate time to request those kind of things because we can operate without those things. These are nice to have, so we're not requesting any of those. Other than that, I'm standing by to address any questions or concerns.
Yeah, Yolando, is that $10,000 grant, is that in the budget?
It does show up under our revenue.
Okay.
And yes, sir. And that's every year that they do that, right at the beginning of July. There's a couple other grants, Mr. Little, that we've had in the past, but they haven't been consistent. And those are the ones that help with the ramps and things of that nature. So we don't know how 2022 is going to fall out. So we didn't adjust for that because I don't know if we're going to get approved for those different grants.
Okay, very good. I know for a long time the VA wasn't putting that $10,000 grant in their budget.
we've captured it, and I think it's right there at that line.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Any more questions for Yolando?
Good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Yolanda.
That wraps up all of the departments that we have today. Thursday, we have engineer, attorney, conservation, IT. As far as getting documents out to you, I'll have that out to you here shortly. I ran into a snag with conservation and IT as far as getting my formulas correct, so I didn't want to send that out too early. But you'll have those today, and then we'll just keep plugging away starting Thursday at 9. So,
Do we have any reports or information from the board? Tom?
Nope, I'm good.
A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Thank you.